Have you ever paused something and find yourself with... Well, Bluey is no exception. The series has many very funny mistakes, and in this video, I will show you some of the hundreds and hundreds it has. Let's start with one of the funniest mistakes people found. And that is in the horseback riding episode. For a few moments, we can see how Bandit is missing his dark fur. This is one of the most famous mistakes in the series. I even start to wonder if the clown Brincos Dieras took inspiration for his look from this image. Anyway, I can't imagine bandits with this design around the series. It would indeed be an uncomfortable sight. By the way, some people say it seems to be another dog, but I rather think it's like a seal. In the Spy Game episode, we have several things that don't make sense. To start, we have the scene where the grill starts to burst into flames. Everyone here is scared, with the exception of Chili. Seriously, Chili is the only one who is laughing all the time that there is a fire? But not only that, but the spot near her eye changes from one place to another. What the heck? Was Chili possessed and excited that everything was going to burn in flames? Anyway, another mistake we had in this episode is that we know Bandit has to accompany Bingo to the bathroom. But suddenly, in one scene, we then see him with everyone around the grill. Isn't he supposed to be with Bingo? This really gave me goosebumps. And to conclude, with this very episode of the game of possessed spies in the part, when Honey and Chloe have to guard the tree, their positions suddenly change.
Elves!
In the Takeout food episode, when everyone is already in the restaurant, the failures start with Bandit. To start with, his yellow fur disappears, and a few moments later, we see that Bluey's nose gets a bit rebellious. What, was Bluey gonna hold back a sneeze? But that's not all. From outside the store, inside, we can see that the girl who is attending seems to only have white fur. But when she comes out, her fur turns black, apart from her ears growing. Did a pot of beans fall on his head before he left? Well, from the bean hit that the lady got, Bandit's light blue line on his belly, typical of Bandit, disappears. One of the mistakes that caught my attention the most was in the weekend episode. And when you see it, you feel like something doesn't fit. And it's because Chili has a completely different design on his face than we usually know, because if you notice, his brown spot is even bigger than usual. And this is a mistake that only a few noticed. The interesting thing about this mistake is that the weekend episode was supposed to be the pilot episode of Bluey. So some people thought that this design mistake could have been because they used Chili's first design. But the truth is that this was not the case. Maybe this was another one of the designs that Chili had before ending up with her final design. And speaking of the pilot episode, after reviewing it, I saw that Bandit didn't have his mask-like fur. And for those who may know, Bandit is named that way because his fur resembles that of a bandit. So, if here Bandit didn't have that fur, what could he have been named before? Milaneso? In the episode of the Magic Feather, Bingo's mouth takes on a life of its own. And all of a sudden, it turns to the other side, giving him this smiling dog face. Now let's go with a mistake that confused many. And it is in the Bob Bilby episode, when Bluey and Bingo are in the shopping center. If we look at the background of this scene, we can see that Uncle Stripe and Aunt Trixie are there, but their fur is completely messed up. To start with, Aunt Trixie's fur is moving around as if she's having system failures. While Uncle Stripe... Is it really Uncle Stripe? Since this dog we see here has red fur, is Trixie deceiving her husband? I don't think so. Possibly Uncle Stripe had a sunburn, and that's why he turned as red as a shrimp. But moments later, when the fireworks are going off, we can see for a few seconds that Stripe and Trixie are also there. Were they spying on Bluey's family? And a little further on, we can see this picture of Bluey and Bingo, but Bingo has both hands the same color, which definitely should not happen. A somewhat funny thing, which in fact is not a mistake, but it does look very funny. Does it have to do with Bandit in the swimming school episode? When Bandit goes to take his super dive, suddenly from one frame to another he disappears. As I already said, this is not a mistake but an animation technique, but it does look very funny. Something that only those with eagle eyes noticed is that in the credits of the episode Cafe, the names of who play mom and dad were flipped. What? This time, a woman did the voice of Bandit and a man did the voice of Chili. A somewhat disturbing mistake was in the barbecue episode. When Bingo starts making a mess with the hose and everyone goes to look out on the balcony for a few moments. Sock's face disappears, and although it may seem a bit creepy, the cool thing is that you can draw a face on Socks. Oh darn. Most likely this error occurred because Sock's face was supposed to be looking the other way, just as we see with the other characters, only for some reason in life they turned his face, and well, he had no eyes or mouth. Another thing to note here is that I think Bluey spoke and his arm completely disappeared. Jeez, they're going to leave all the characters maimed. In the episode of the Carpet Island, suddenly a tree appears behind Bandit. How the heck did this happen? Yes, in some previous scenes this tree wasn't even there. In the Asparagus episode, or as some say, Asparagus. We can all remember when Chili and Bingo turn into lions and go to bite Pat. Well here, Bingo got so wild that his hand suddenly went through Pat's leg. Bingo, why do you take it so seriously? In the Creek episode, Mackenzie had many inconsistencies with her character. First, when she comes out of these bushes, her fur starts to get a little crazy, and a few moments later, her dark face lines disappear. And now she has them on one side, because apparently she wanted to copy Childi's look. And to end this episode, in another shot, her two legs turn white instead of black. And now we know that Bandit loves to change looks. That's why in the dance mode episode, his dark fur split in two, something similar to Mackenzie's. What copycats, huh? If you've ever wondered, why is Muffin so crazy? Well, in the Cone episode, suddenly Muffin goes through the stairs. So in conclusion, friends, Bandit is a witch seal. Tell me, have you seen other mistakes and would you like to see a second part of this video? See you in the comments.